You today. Thank you so much. You know, we say when to take profits. You really need to know or be not emotional, have your numbers ready. I mean, you know, if you took profits yesterday, you're happy because you missed a 7% sell-off today, right?
Yes, you sure are. And I think there are more on the horizon, seriously. Okay. And so, yeah, it always makes sense to buy low, sell high, and do that periodically and repeat over and over. Some people get enamored and they get stuck and they get complacent, and then it's an aha moment. But Nicole, I would think that the first step, at least as far as we're concerned, that people do not put enough time on. And it's like, when you're finally ready to get on an airplane, where are you going? So what I'm saying is, instead of just putting the money someplace and go, oh, I made some money that makes me feel smart, or I lost some money that makes me feel dumb, the question is, where's your money going? What do you need it to do? If we take a simple example of 35-year-old couple making 100 grand and they want to retire at age 70, they may find that their target becomes $2.6 million. And then to get from here to there, it might look like saving 15% of what they're earning, looking for an 8% return. And if that combination happens, guess what? They'll have 2.6 sitting behind door number one, and that will provide the equivalent income for the next 20, 30 years. So let's see the target first before we really figure out, what we're going to do with the gains. And as I say, periodically review what do we want this money to do, and take gains and reposition.
Yeah, and the risk tolerance is different for each person, right? So you're saying that you really need to ask yourself how much of a loss is acceptable to you, and you need to translate that and really communicate that to your manager of your money. What do you recommend?
Well, that's part and parcel of what we do talk about. What we want to help clients see, probably for the first time, Nicole, is how much loss can you accept? I think it's an insult. I've only been doing this for 41 years, and I think it's an insult for my peers, and many of us have just repeated the first year for the number 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it might be, and we keep saying buy and hold and hope, sit and take it. That feels like a slap in the face to me. 30, 40 years ago, that's all we had. Today, technology has given us some tools, and some people are using the techniques for the investors to see what kind of loss can you live with. Is it 40%? Is it 8%? Nothing to do with age, little to do with age, and nothing to do with are you conservative, moderate, or aggressive. Those terms nobody understands. But let's see, for example, the couple says after a series of questions, we can live with an 8% loss. Let's look to see how the current portfolio performed fourth quarter of 2018, 2008. 2008, you find out that the market was off 37, your portfolio was off 42. We don't want to do that again. So let's see what we can do to put together a different portfolio that during the same time held up more strongly, or stronger.
So in the rebalancing part, are you more in the buy or the sell mode at this moment?
We have to work both sides of the fence, both sides of the net. We have to recognize that whatever game we're playing, whether the sun is in your face or your opponent wants to kill you, you have to work both sides of the floor, right? So we want to enjoy all of the upside. There's been a terrific run since March 23rd, but let's suppose we reverse ourselves, which I think is probability is better than 50-50, where we retest these lows. How are we going to limit those losses? A lot of people were feeling a lot of anxiety over the witnessing of those losses. We recovered, but let's understand, as of today, the only index that's positive for the year happens to be NASDAQ. The Dow and the S&P are back in negative territory for the year after what was a tremendous 40, 45%, something like that, gain from the lows. You can't count those gains. You want to make sure. We find savvy investors feel like, Nicole, they hate losses more than they love gains.
Right. And so in the final part of this, how often should you be rebalancing and talking to your money manager, your broker, when you look at this? And I know you talk about asset allocation and you want to be well diversified in your portfolio. How often do we have to translate our thoughts?
As often as you need, right? I'm not going to make it quarterly. I'm not going to make it once a year. I'm going to make it a prescription personal to you. So some folks want to see us monthly, so we'll show up. Some folks want to look at their risk tolerance and recognize they established a risk tolerance that was 6 months ago, and then they look at what has happened, particularly recently, and go, I lied, I got to dial down the risk. So, people have the emotions affect them. but techniques are made available. We can respond to that because at the end of the day, if we go back to our opening discussion of 2.6, if you reach that, now you want to keep it there. So, we want to limit the losses, particularly when we're taking withdrawals, but we want to see what the target is so that we can see, are we on track, and what changes might need to be in order so that we can rest comfortably, not having to worry about our life savings.
Yeah, and I know when we have asset allocation, we talk about bonds and equities and cash. Within that investment, I mean, do you look at foreign investments as well, or things that are a little out of the ordinary?
I like looking at the endowments, the foundations, and the institutions in general, Yale in particular. And the first thing that I notice is that the industry has told all of us, regardless of our age or our goals, your portfolio is diversified when it's 60% stocks, 40% bonds, or the reverse. That's 2 asset classes. What I notice with Yale, I count 8 asset classes. And what's also interesting is only 23.5%, roughly, in their last report, is in traditional asset classes, be it stocks, bonds, or cash. 23.5%. That's very low compared to every retail investor we've ever talked to or talked about. So I'm not saying it's a template from the standpoint that that's something that we should do. What I'm saying is that success does leave clues, and maybe we can learn from the best and the brightest, and we can all recognize it's very simple. Having 5, 6, 7 legs underneath your stool is certainly a stronger foundation than 2 or 3 legs.
All right, John Grace, thank you so much. Founder, President, Investors Advantage Corp. Thanks, John, so much. And before we say goodbye, some late breaking news for you. Quicken Loans, the largest mortgage lender in the United States, has reportedly filed an IPO prospectus. The news comes as the average mortgage rate fell to a record low, below 3%, 2.97% today. The IPO could happen as soon as next month and would likely be the largest IPO of the year. So we wanted to make sure to bring that to you. We'll probably hear more about it tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me here on Market Overtime. Remember, join us every single weekday. 5 p.m. Eastern Time will help you to plan your long-term investment portfolio here on the TD Ameritrade Network. I'm Nicole Petalides. Have a great, safe night, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow.